Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm gonna show you how you can throw together a quick and easy tapering jig so that you can make some tapered cuts at the table saw. All right, let's get started. All right guys, so I'm in the middle of building something right now that needs some legs, and I've decided that I want to taper those legs. Now, I've just got some legs already cut out to size here. These I've cut to about 5 inches long, and these are 1.5 inches thick. So the first thing I need to do is sort of decide what type of taper I want and how much I want to bring the taper down at the bottom. Now, since this is 1.5 inches at the top, I've decided that at the bottom I want it to be about 1 inch by 1 inch. So to get that taper, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some marks on my piece. Okay, so what I've done is I've made some marks on my piece here that sort of help me visually see where my taper is going to be. So as I mentioned, I want this bottom section here to be 1 inch, so I measured over 1 inch and made a mark, and then I just kind of scribble this out so that I visually know that that's going to be taken off. And then I know that I want my taper to start 1.5 inches down from the top. So I don't want any tapering here, so I make a mark here, and then I just transfer that mark over to this side of the piece, and I'll use these lines to mark up, to line up my jig when it comes to setting my piece in place. All right, this is all of the wood that I'm going to use to make this tapering jig. Now, these were all just scraps that I found lying around the shop, but if you had to go out and buy something, this is 1/2 inch material on the bottom, and then these pieces are just 3/4 inch plywood. So, and I just cut them up into the size that I need. Now, as far as the width of this thing goes, you can kind of make it whatever you want to. I just made mine 8 inches wide by, I believe this is maybe 20 inches long. Yeah, so 8 inches wide by 20 inches long. That was just a good size for my size table saw. And obviously, I'm just cutting down very small legs, but if you had larger legs that you needed to taper, then you might just have to adjust the size of your jig. All right, guys, so for this bottom piece, I just ripped this edge on the table saw, so I know it's good and straight. So this is the edge that I'm gonna use for setting my piece up. And basically, I'll just set it up according to those marks that I made on my leg. Now, I know this bottom piece is a lot bigger than these tiny legs, but I kind of oversized this jig for now. That way, if I do need to use this again for larger pieces, I can do so. So let me show you where I set these lines up on this edge. Okay, so this is my top line that I made. This is gonna be the top of my leg. I measured down 1.5 inches and made a mark. And then I'm just gonna make sure that this mark here is flush with the edge here, and then I'm going to put a clamp on this end. Now for my bottom portion, this is the line that I marked, so I basically want to take this line and line it up with the edge of this as well. Looks pretty close. Okay, now with my piece clamped so that I know exactly where I need it, I'm going to take this piece here and butt it up against it. All right, just throw some clamps on here to hold it in place while I pre-drill to add some screws. With my leg piece still clamped in place, I'm gonna take this little block here and just butt it up against it and up against this piece here, and then attach it with a screw. All right, now I can remove my clamps. And I've got these stop blocks in place so that I can just take my legs and butt it up like that, and I'll have it exactly lined up on my marks. Okay, so next up for this jig is I need to get these little toggle clamps installed. And as you can see, they're sitting down a little bit too low right now. So what I've done is I've just cut some extra scrap blocks of that 3/4 inch plywood, and I'll get those installed onto this piece here, and that'll get me to the height I need for installing these clamps. now it's time to get these toggle clamps attached to these scrap blocks. Now, when it comes to figuring out where you want to place these things, you just want to make sure that they aren't going to extend past this edge here, because you really don't want to cut into these things with your table saw. That would be incredibly frightening. So you just want to make sure you have them placed far enough back so that that's not going to be an issue. Especially with this back one here, I kind of set this one back a little bit further. So I'm just gonna make some marks and then drill some holes and attach these things with some screws. Okay, so now I just want to adjust this until I get a nice tight fit. Okay, that's tight there. Once I have it good and tight, I'll just take a wrench and make sure it's nice and tight. Then same thing on this side. All right, so now our piece is locked in there really tightly, and that's gonna be important when it comes to pushing this thing through the table saw. We don't want any play. Now I could have added a piece to this jig to have it run through the miter slot on my table saw, and that might be something that I add in the future. But for now, I'll just run it against my fence. Okay, it's time to run this thing through. So I just take my leg, butt it up against that piece there, clamp it down. Do need to raise the height of my blade so it'll cut all the way through. All right, this thing's ready to run through. After making that first tapered cut, I just want to hold on to that little cutoff piece because it's going to be helpful for my next cut. I just removed my piece from the jig and then I rotate it to an adjoining side. Then I clamp that side down. Now since we removed some material with our last cut, then I can use that little cutoff shim to help clamp down my piece for the second cut. Now I'm just tapering these legs on two sides, so this will be the last cut that I'll have to make for this leg. Alright guys, that's all there is to it. I was able to cut tapers on all 4 of these legs in a matter of minutes using a very simple tapering jig that I threw together also in a matter of minutes. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. That's something that really helps my channel grow and I'd appreciate it. Also, if you want to know what these legs are going to be a part of, you better go ahead and get subscribed because that's going to be my next video coming out. I don't want you guys to miss it, so get subscribed. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll be seeing you again soon.